All right, so it is about 4:30 a.m. I am here at the Embassy Suites in Washington, D.C. And I started thinking, I was like, what's one of the most common questions that people ask me since I've been a part of the Air Force? How often do you travel in the Air Force? Now, I can't, give you a straightforward answer because it depends on where you work, who you work for, what type of job you have, are you coded or whatever. There's so many different attributes that could, make you someone who would travel all the time versus someone who might not ever do a TDY or deploy. So I can really only talk about my experience with that, and I'm gonna share that with you all today. All right, so I get it. From the outside looking in, you're probably thinking tactical stuff when you start thinking about TDYs, deployments, things of that nature, because that's the way the movies depict it. So you're not necessarily wrong for, I guess, kind of thinking that, but to be honest, that's not really the case, especially in my experience. I've been to Kandahar, Afghanistan. I did do a 6-month tour out there when back in 2016. I've also been to Bucharest, Romania, a couple other places here in Germany, and of course stateside like where I'm at right now, Washington, D.C. So I'm a communications guy. I'm a 3 Delta 1X1, which is a client systems technician. I'm basically like a hardware guy. If stuff were to break on a computer, I would fix it, install new RAM, things of that nature. I do a little bit of networking, software, and a little bit of patching. So we're kind of like a jack of all trades as 1X1s. I'm a very valuable asset to the Air Force because I can literally go anywhere and do anything comm related basically. So that's where, being in this AFSC gives me plenty of opportunities to travel. So trying to figure out if you would have plenty of opportunities to TDY and deploy, it's really hard for me to say because it depends on your AFSC. For example, let's say security forces, right? So the COP of the Air Force. I would say your chances of going TDY and deployment is tremendously high just because of y'all can literally go anywhere. If there's an Air Force base, you can go there basically. And then you compare that to someone like, let's say like a maintainer of some sort of, aircraft. I would say their chances of deployment are pretty slim, and here's why. At least in my experience of talking with individuals and stuff, they don't typically deploy or TDY that often because they need to stay at home station working on that aircraft. If that mission does not exist over there in the deployed location, then they don't really have too much of a need to go over there. It's not to say they can't, I'm just saying the chances are a little smaller. Me as a comm guy, I'm kind of like the best of both worlds. I can go TDY and deploy pretty much anywhere in the world, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff we can get done remotely these days. And that's kind of where the Air Force is headed. And like, for example, I'm here in Washington, D.C., setting up a remote comm unit for a member that's going to be coming over here and working for a little bit. Now let's talk about like the locations. Now this is kind of an exaggerated example, but just bear with me. Let's just say there's a base in Spain, okay, and they have no computers. They're all old school. They have nothing but papers and stuff of that nature. The chances of me deploying or TDY there are probably pretty slim, probably next to none, because there's nothing for me to work on. So I bring that exaggerated example up because once again, if you're, like a maintainer and there's nothing for you to maintain at this location, you probably aren't ever going to go over there. But once again, everything's flexible in the Air Force. There's a mission where, they're like, hey, we need these guys here for just a short amount of time, which would probably be a TDY or a deployment. So yeah, once again, it just depends on where the mission set for your AFSC lives. That's the best way I can really put it. And that's really pretty much everything I have for you all. This is a pretty short and sweet video, just kind of something to get out there. There's a lot of people that ask this, and I get it because that's one of the main reasons people join the Air Force. Sometimes they're like, man, I really want to travel, I want to get out there to see things, do things of that nature. And I think the chances of you going are pretty high depending on your job. Oh, and if there's a video that you all want to see, just comment down below and I will read through everything and I will do my absolute best to make a video on it, or at least answer the questions you all have, okay? That's it, everyone. I'm done. Thanks for watching. My name's Lynn McCall.